The air hung heavy in the courtroom, thick with anticipation and dread. A sea of faces, etched with anxiety, turned towards the impassive figure of the judge. His voice, when it finally pierced the silence, was cold and sharp, each word a hammer blow. 37 times, the chilling sentence echoed. Death. Among the condemned 3 Americans, their faces pale masks of disbelief and fear. The wheels of justice, it seemed, had ground to a halt, replaced by an engine of vengeance. The courtroom erupted. Sobs mingled with shouts of anger and despair. Outside, the humid Kinshasa air crackled with tension. The verdict, a culmination of weeks of hushed testimonies and whispered accusations, had sent shockwaves through the Democratic Republic of Congo and beyond. This was not just a trial. It was a spectacle, a public reckoning that laid bare the raw wounds of a nation grappling with its tumultuous past and uncertain future. The accused, a motley group of soldiers, politicians, and businessmen, stood accused of treason, a capital offense. Their alleged crime plotting to overthrow the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the heart of this alleged conspiracy were 3 Americans, a former military contractor, a shadowy businessman, and an ex-diplomat. Their motives, shrouded in rumor and speculation, had become the subject of feverish conjecture. Were they mercenaries, lured by the promise of riches? Or were they pawns in a larger geopolitical game, their allegiances shifting in the shadows?
Their defense, that they were merely caught in a web of deceit, unwitting participants in a scheme they barely understood, rang hollow in the charged atmosphere of the courtroom. The prosecution, armed with a string of witnesses and a mountain of circumstantial evidence, painted a different picture. They spoke of clandestine meetings, coded messages, and a daring plan to seize power. The Americans, they argued, were not innocent bystanders, but key players in a dangerous game.
The coup attempt itself, launched under a sky heavy with the threat of rain, had been as chaotic as it was short-lived. On May 19th, a contingent of heavily armed men stormed the presidential palace in Kinshasa, their faces hidden behind balaclavas. For a few tense hours, the heart of the Congolese government was under siege, the sound of gunfire echoing through the usually bustling streets.
The coup attempt, however, was poorly planned and quickly unraveled. Loyalist forces, alerted to the attack, launched a fierce counter-offensive. The palace grounds became a battleground, littered with bullet casings and the bodies of the fallen. By nightfall, the rebellion was quelled, leaving behind a trail of destruction and unanswered questions. The death toll, though never officially confirmed, was rumored to be high, a grim testament to the human cost of such audacious power grabs.
The trial, held in a military court in Kinshasa, had been fraught with controversy from the outset. Human rights groups and international observers raised serious concerns about the fairness of the proceedings. The reinstatement of the death penalty, after a nearly 2-decade moratorium, cast a long shadow over the trial. Amnesty International condemned it as a giant leap backwards for human rights in the DRC.
The quality of interpretation provided to the American defendants was also called into question. Lawyers argued that their clients, unable to fully understand the charges leveled against them or participate in their own defense, were denied a fair trial.
The judges, however, remained unmoved. The verdict, delivered with chilling finality, left no room for doubt. The death penalty would be applied in all its chilling finality. Looming large over the trial was the figure of Christian Malanga, a former general in the Congolese army, and a man whispered to be the true mastermind behind the coup. Malanga, a charismatic and ruthless figure, had a long and checkered history in Congolese politics. A decorated soldier, he had risen through the ranks to become one of the most powerful men in the country.
His relationship with the government, however, had soured in recent years. Accused of corruption and human rights abuses, Malanga had become an increasingly vocal critic of the president. Forced into exile, he had vowed to return and reclaim what he believed was rightfully his. The coup attempt, many believed, was his attempt to make good on that promise. His absence from the courtroom, however, only added to the enigma surrounding the case.
The trial in Kinshasa unfolded against a backdrop of political instability and a long history of coups in the region. From Burkina Faso to Guinea, the African continent has been plagued by military takeovers, often fueled by poverty, corruption, and weak governance. The DRC itself has endured decades of turmoil, its history scarred by colonialism, dictatorship, and civil war.
The recent wave of coups has raised alarm bells across the continent and beyond. The African Union and other international bodies have condemned these unconstitutional seizures of power, calling for a return to democratic rule. The situation in the DRC, however, highlights the complex challenges facing the region. The trial, with its echoes of Cold War intrigue and shadowy power struggles, serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the persistent threat to democracy in the region.
The verdict, while sending shockwaves through the DRC, has also sparked a glimmer of hope. The trial, for all its flaws, has shone a light on the urgent need for judicial reform and respect for human rights in the country. The international outcry over the death sentences, particularly for the American defendants, has put pressure on the Congolese government to reconsider its stance.
The road ahead, however, remains fraught with challenges. The DRC, still grappling with poverty, corruption, and armed conflict, faces an uphill battle in its quest for stability and justice. The legacy of the coup trial, however, will continue to loom large, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the importance of upholding the rule of law. The fate of the condemned, meanwhile, hangs in the balance, a testament to the enduring power struggles that continue to shape the destiny of the Democratic Republic of Congo.